The night doesn't announce itself with a dramatic thunderclap. It just quietly eats the temperature out of the air while you're still congratulating yourself for finally escaping society. Somewhere in the deep timberline, and the breeze turns into a slow knife, your sweat-soaked base layer starts to cling like cold glue, and the sound of the last car on the distant highway fades until there's nothing left but your own pulse and the wet scrape of your boots. You think this is the beginning of your wilderness story arc. In reality, this is the opening scene of your autopsy report. Reality check. You think you know how this goes, right? In your head, step one is simple. You drive out as far as you can, park at some lonely trailhead, throw in your tactical backpack with that smug at one with nature expression, and stride into the forest like a discount movie protagonist. You imagine yourself building a perfect little lean-to, sparking a roaring fire with your ferro rod and 3 Instagram-worthy strikes, boiling water in your titanium cup, and falling asleep to wolves howling a respectful distance away while you dream about how soft modern people have become. In that fantasy, you are the one sane, prepared individual in a world of screen-addicted weaklings. You've watched bushcraft videos, maybe skimmed a survival article or two about the shelter, water, fire, and signaling, and you assumed that common sense will glue everything else together. Reality check. What you actually are is a primate with 0 recent evolutionary practice and not dying outside, walking into a physics lab you don't understand, while every law of thermodynamics, microbiology, and probability is betting against you. Now let's look at what the forest is actually doing to you while you pose with your knife. Your body is a pathetic 37-degree furnace trying to hold a narrow thermal range, and the deep woods are an enormous heat sink designed to pull energy away from you in 4 directions at once. Radiation to the cold sky, convection to moving air, conduction to the ground, and evaporation from that heroic sweat you worked up making miles before dark. The survival O2, rule of threes, exists for a reason. In many environments, you can go roughly 3 hours unprotected in cold, wet, or windy conditions before hypothermia becomes a serious, decision-wrecking threat, while water and food kill you on a scale of days and weeks, not minutes. Biology does not care that you feel fine. Once your core temperature slips just a couple of degrees, enzymes stop working properly, muscles generate less heat, and your brain, the thing making navigation and fire decisions, starts to misfire, giving you the brilliant idea to wander farther in the wrong direction or strip off clothing because you feel too hot. In the deep woods, canopy blocks sunlight, wind funnels through valleys, and the ground is usually damp and conductive. Lie down uninsulated on that, and you are literally wiring your body heat straight into the planet, like a plugged-in battery with no off switch. Imagine it's now your second night, and the heroic story is starting to rot at the edges. Your stream looks clean because you watched too many slow-motion drone shots of alpine creeks, so you dunk your bottle and drink raw, assuming the real threat is thirst, not microscopic biology. The reality is that many surface waters carry protozoa like Giardia and Cryptosporidium, which protect themselves inside hard-walled cysts that shrug off casual chemical treatments and glide right past your trust in "it looks fine." Once inside your gut, they don't just upset your stomach. They attach to and inflame the lining of your intestines, sabotaging absorption so that every ounce of water you drink becomes diarrhea that strips electrolytes and fluid faster than you can replace them. You pictured yourself fishing or foraging on day 4. Instead, you are curled in your damp shelter, cramping, shivering, and hydrating to death in a forest absolutely full of water, because biology doesn't care how motivated you are. Now, the part you didn't put on your vision board, what actually works and why it makes your deep wilderness escape look ridiculous. Real survival planning starts long before you step off the pavement. Detailed route research, weather checks, realistic time estimates, and a hard rule that you do not push into remote, trackless terrain until you have locked in the boring fundamentals: navigation, shelter building under pressure, fire starting with redundancy, and water procurement and purification that accounts for protozoa, bacteria, and cold conditions that slow chemical reactions. Experienced people don't sprint straight into the deep wilderness. They start in controlled environments, close to roads and help, and they test their systems. Can you build a wind-resistant insulated shelter before full dark and cold rain? Can you light a fire after your hands are numb and your tinder is damp? Can you read a topographic map, use a compass, and backtrack without panic when the trail vanishes and the trees all look identical? Reality check. For beginners, the deep wilderness is not a proving ground. It is an unforgiving filter that quietly removes people who confuse watching survival content with actually mastering survival physics. And the smart move is not to escape the world, but to methodically earn the right to go one ridgeline farther next time without becoming a cautionary tale. Now let's look at your plan B, which usually involves building a fire that rivals the sun itself. You've seen the movies. The protagonist snaps a few dry twigs, strikes a flint, and suddenly heat and light flood the campsite, pushing back the darkness. Step 1. The delusion is that fire is easy, abundant, and guaranteed because you bought a $10 magnesium rod off Amazon and practiced once in your dry backyard on a sunny Tuesday. You imagine massive, roaring bonfires that dry your clothes instantly and keep predators at bay, all while you cook a trout on a stick. Step 2. The mockery. In the deep wilderness, especially the damp, rotting boreal or deciduous forests where people actually get lost, dry wood is a myth. It's a unicorn. Every stick you pick up is a sponge that has been soaking up humidity for 3 weeks. You're not starting a fire. You're attempting to ignite waterlogged cellulose with a spark that burns at 3,000 degrees for exactly 1 millisecond. Step 3. The science. Combustion requires 3 things: fuel, heat, and oxygen. But in a wet forest, you have a 4th secret ingredient: the enthalpy of vaporization. Before that wet wood can burn, your tiny starter flame has to boil off all the water trapped inside the wood fibers. This phase change consumes massive amounts of energy, 2,260 joules per gram of water, energy that should be going into heating the wood to its flash point. So your lighter flicks, the flame touches the wood, and the wood hisses at you. That hiss is the sound of your survival calorie budget evaporating. The heat is sucked up by the water, the temperature never reaches the 300 greater than one needed for pyrolysis, where wood breaks down into flammable gas, and your lighter eventually runs out of fluid. Step 4. The horror. Now you're in the dark, wet and cold, but with a new problem. You have exhausted your fine motor skills trying to spark tinder. Your hands are claws. You can't work zippers. You can't strike the flint anymore because your dexterity is the first thing the cold steals. You sit there, clutching a useless piece of magnesium, while the thermal gradient sucks the remaining heat out of your core. Step 5. The solution. Professionals carry a tinder from home, cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly, commercial wax cubes, or birch bark harvested and kept dry in a pocket. They don't look for dry wood on the ground. They look for standing dead wood, branches that have died but are still attached to the tree, off the wet ground. They use a baton to split wet logs because the inside might still be dry. They don't try to build a bonfire. They build a small shielded fire that reflects heat back at them, not the sky. Let's pivot to the hunter-gatherer fantasy. Step 1. The delusion. You think you'll just find food. You see berries, you see rabbits, you see a buffet. You assume that because indigenous people lived here for thousands of years, you can too. Step 2. The mockery. Indigenous people had clan knowledge passed down for generations, knew every plant by season, and migrated with food sources. You are a guy who can't identify poison ivy. You think you'll set a snare? The only thing you're going to catch is a cold. Step 3. The science. This is about the calorie return on investment, ROI. Hunting and foraging are high-energy activities. Trekking through brush to check empty traps burns 400 plus calories an hour. Shivering burns 400 calories an hour. Your brain alone demands 20% of your energy just to keep you panicking efficiently. Most wild edibles in the deep woods, roots, shoots, berries, have incredibly low caloric density. You would need to eat buckets of dandelions to offset the energy you spent finding them. Small game meat is so lean that you can actually starve to death on a full stomach, a condition called rabbit starvation, or protein poisoning, because your liver can't process that much protein without fat to bind it, leading to ammonia toxicity in your blood. Step 4. The horror. Day 7. You haven't eaten. Your body switches to catabolism. It eats your muscles first, specifically the glutes and quads you need to walk out, then it eats your heart muscle. Your cognitive function drops to that of a drunk toddler. You start hallucinating food. You eat a mushroom that looks kinda like the one in the book. It contains amatoxins. These stop your cells from making protein. You don't die instantly. You feel better for a day, the walking ghost phase, and then your liver liquefies and you bleed out of every orifice while fully conscious. Step 5. The solution. Stop looking for food. You can live 3 weeks without it. Focus entirely on water and shelter. If you must eat, the only high-yield foods are insects, gross but fatty, or cambium, inner bark of certain trees, but mostly just sit still. Conservation of energy beats the lottery of hunting every single time. Now, let's talk about the lone wolf psychology. Step 1. The delusion. You think silence will be peaceful. You think you are mentally tough. I just need to clear my head, you say. Step 2. The mockery. Your brain's a social organ. It evolved to constantly ping off other humans for validation of reality. Remove that, and the feedback loop breaks. Step 3. The science. Isolation? Stress triggers a spike in cortisol and adrenaline. Without social cues, your brain starts pattern-matching noise to create company. This is pareidolia on steroids. The wind sounds like whispering. A shadow looks like a person. This is the breakdown of the default mode network in the brain. Step 4. The horror. By day 5, the silence is so loud it hums. You start talking to yourself. Then you start answering. Then you start running from things that aren't there. Panic attacks in the wilderness are fatal because they cause you to abandon your shelter and run blindly into terrain that will break your ankles. People are found dead miles from their safe camp because they were fleeing a ghost. Step 5. The solution. Routine. You must externalize your order. Narrate your actions out loud. I am now putting water in the pot. I am now collecting wood. Create a task list. Keep a journal. Construct a Wilson. An artificial companion if you have to. You must artificially maintain the structure of a civilized mind, or the wilderness will replace it with animal instinct, which is driven only by fear. Finally, the walking out fallacy. Step 1. The delusion. I'll just follow the river downstream to civilization. Step 2. The mockery. This advice works in England. In the Canadian Shield, the Amazon, or Siberia, rivers don't go to towns. They go to swamps, waterfalls, and impassable canyons. Step 3. The science. Following a watercourse often leads to terrain traps. Vegetation is densest near water, riparian zones, meaning you are fighting 10x the friction of a ridgeline. The ground is muddier, sucking energy from your steps. Cold air sinks into river valleys, making your nights 10 degrees colder than the ridges. Step 4. The horror. You get cliffed out. The river enters a gorge with the vertical walls. You can't go forward, you can't climb up, and you're too exhausted to go back. You're trapped in a cold, wet, noisy slot canyon where no search helicopter can see you, and the noise of the water drowns out your whistle. Step 5. The solution. Stay put. You are a needle in a haystack. A moving needle is impossible to find. If you must move, follow handrails. Linear features like ridge lines or power lines, but generally, the moment you realize you are lost, you stop. You become a stationary signal beacon. You build a massive X in a clearing. You make yourself bigger, not smaller. And let's continue with the part everyone ignores, the psychological collapse timeline, because your mind breaks faster than your body. Step 1. The delusion. You think stress is something you push through. You imagine yourself as stoic, rational, making good decisions under pressure because you've been through tough times before. Maybe you had a rough breakup or a demanding job, and you assume that translates to wilderness competence. Step 2. The mockery. A breakup didn't try to kill you with thermodynamics. Your demanding job had coffee, climate control, and the option to quit. The wilderness is not a metaphor. It is a physical assault on your homeostasis, and your brain is not designed to handle prolonged isolation combined with mortal threat. Step 3. The science. When you first realize you are lost, your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. This is the fight or flight response, and it is useful for about 10 minutes, long enough to run from a bear or make one critical decision. But you are not running from a bear. You are lost for days. And chronic elevated cortisol suppresses your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, impulse control, and rational thought, while amplifying your amygdala, the fear center. The result is that you become progressively dumber and more paranoid. You stop thinking in sequences, if I do A, then B will happen, and start thinking in emotional flashes. I must move now, or I will die. Step 4. The horror. By day 3, if you haven't slept properly because of cold and fear, you are cognitively equivalent to someone legally drunk. You misread your map. You remember trails that don't exist. You see movement in the trees and are convinced something is stalking you. You make the fatal decision to abandon your shelter and run, not because there is a real threat, but because your amygdala has hijacked your motor cortex. Search and rescue teams find people who have walked in perfect circles, people who have stripped off their clothes in freezing temperatures, paradoxical undressing, a late-stage hypothermia hallucination, and people who have crawled into small spaces to die. Terminal burrowing behavior, another hypothermia symptom where the brain misfires and triggers a hibernation-like response. These are not stupid people. These are normal humans whose brains have been chemically sabotaged by stress, cold, and isolation. Step 5. The solution. You must externalize cognitive control before your internal control fails. This means rituals. Set an alarm on your phone, if it still has battery, and perform a specific task every hour. Collect firewood, check your signal fire, drink water, write in a journal. The content doesn't matter. The routine matters. Routine is the scaffolding that holds your executive function together when your neurochemistry is trying to tear it down. Talk out loud. Narrate your actions or as if you are teaching someone else. I am now checking my shelter for gaps. I am now placing 3 more sticks on the fire. This forces your prefrontal cortex to stay online. Create a decision protocol before you panic. If I hear a helicopter, I will immediately move to my signal area and ignite my smoke signal. I will not chase the helicopter. I will trust that they saw me. Write this down. When panic comes, you will not be able to generate this logic in real time, so you need it pre-written, like a pre-flight checklist for your sanity. Now let's talk about the temperature gradients that kill you silently while you're busy worrying about bears. Step 1. The delusion. You think cold is something you notice. You assume you will feel yourself dying and have time to react. Step 2. The mockery. Hypothermia is called the silent killer because it shuts down the exact brain systems you need to recognize that you are in danger. It is a predator that makes you complicit in your own death. Step 3. The science. Your body's core temperature is normally 37 degrees. Drop to 35 degrees of mild hypothermia, and you start shivering uncontrollably, your fine motor skills vanish, and your thinking becomes sluggish. Drop to 36 degrees, moderate hypothermia, and the shivering stops. Not because you are warmer, but because your muscles have run out of glycogen fuel. Your speech slurs. You can't zip your jacket. You start making catastrophically bad decisions, like sitting down just for a minute on cold ground, which accelerates conductive heat loss. Drop to 20 degrees, severe hypothermia, and you lose consciousness. Your heart rhythm destabilizes into ventricular fibrillation, a useless quiver that pumps no blood, and you die. The insidious part is that as your core temp drops, your peripheral blood vessels constrict to preserve your core, so your skin actually feels less cold. You might think you are fine. This is why people are found dead with their jackets open. They felt hot because their brain's thermostat broke, so they stripped, which accelerated heat loss, which killed them faster. Step 4. The horror. It is the second night. You did not build a good enough shelter because you spent your daylight looking for the trail. Now you're sitting on wet ground, in wet clothes, with no fire, and the temperature is 4 degrees with a breeze. You think, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not freezing. You are wrong. Your core temperature is already 35 degrees. You're shivering so hard you can't hold your phone to call for help. By midnight, you stop shivering. You feel a strange warmth spreading through your limbs. You think, oh good, my body is adapting. It is not. That warmth is blood being dumped into your extremities as your cardiovascular system fails. You unzip your jacket because you feel hot. You lie down. You close your eyes. In the morning, you are a statistic. Step 5. The solution. Insulation, insulation, insulation. Your body is a furnace, but only if you trap the heat it generates. You need a vapor barrier, even a garbage bag, against your skin to stop evaporative cooling from sweat. You need dead air space, layers of clothing or debris that trap air, because air is an excellent insulator when it is still. You need to be off the ground. A layer of spruce boughs, a foam pad, even a pile of dry leaves is better than direct contact with thermal sinking earth. You need to eat, not because food makes you warm, but because shivering is metabolically expensive. It can burn 400 plus calories per hour, and if you run out of fuel, your furnace goes out. And if you can't build a fire, you build a cocoon. You pile debris around yourself until you're basically buried in insulation, and you wait for dawn without moving, because movement pumps cold blood from your extremities back to your core, which can trigger afterdrop and kill you even after you are rescued. Now let's talk about water, because this is where overconfidence kills you with microscopic precision. Step 1. The delusion. Water is water. If it looks clear, if it's moving, if it's cold, it must be safe. You assume that bacteria and parasites are visible, or at least detectable by taste. You've heard of beaver fever, giardiasis, but you think it's rare, or that your immune system will handle it. Step 2. The mockery. Your immune system is optimized for urban pathogens, the bacteria you encounter on subway poles and doorknobs. It has no idea what to do with a protozoan cyst that has been waiting in a mountain stream for a mammalian host to blunder by. Step 3. The science. Giardia lumblia and Cryptosporidium parvum are protozoan parasites that form hard-walled cysts, which are their travel mode. These cysts are 4 to 6 micrometers in diameter, far too small to see, and they are excreted by infected animals, deer, beaver, cattle, humans, into water sources. One infected animal can release millions of cysts. A single swallow of contaminated water can deliver enough cysts to infect you. Once ingested, the cysts reach your small intestine, where the acidic environment and digestive enzymes trigger them to hatch into active trophozoites, which attach to your intestinal lining and begin feeding and reproducing. The result is explosive, watery diarrhea, severe cramping, nausea, and dehydration. The incubation period is 7 to 14 days for Giardia and 2 to 10 days for Crypto, which means you can drink bad water on day 1, feel fine for a week, and then collapse on day 8 when you're already deep in the wilderness with no way to get help. Cryptosporidium is especially nasty because its cyst wall is resistant to chlorine and iodine at standard field concentrations. Only boiling, rolling boil for 1 minute, or high-quality filtration, pore size 1 micron or smaller, reliably kills or removes it. Step 4. The horror. Day 9. You wake up with cramps that feel like your intestines are tied in knots. You start having diarrhea every 30 minutes. Each episode dumps 200 to 300 milliliters of fluid and electrolytes. You try to drink more water to compensate, but your damaged intestines can't absorb it properly, so it just flows through you. Within 24 hours, you are severely dehydrated. Your heart races, your blood pressure drops, your muscles cramp, and your brain, already stressed, begins to shut down. You can't walk. You can't think. You lie in your shelter, fouling yourself, waiting for rescue that may not come because you didn't tell anyone where you were going. Step 5. The solution. Treat all water. Boil it for at least 1 minute, 3 minutes above 2,000 nanometers elevation, because water boils at a lower temperature, which is less effective at killing pathogens. If you can't boil, use a filter rated for protozoa, 1 micron or a smaller pore size, not just a water purifier bottle that claims to improve taste. Chemical treatments, iodine, chlorine dioxide, work on bacteria and viruses, but are inconsistent against crypto. Assume that even remote, pristine alpine streams are contaminated, because animals don't respect your aesthetic sense of purity. Carry water treatment is a non-negotiable piece of gear, and if you forgot it, you have a choice. Risk dehydration or risk dysentery. In cold environments, dehydration is slower, so sometimes the correct choice is to ration your unsafe water and move toward rescue, rather than drink freely and become incapacitated by illness. But this is a gamble, and the wilderness does not owe you good odds. Now let's talk about the one piece of gear you cannot buy at an army surplus store. The psychology of being hunted by your own brain. This is the end game, where the wilderness stops attacking your body and starts dismantling your reality. Step 1. The delusion. You think you're the protagonist of Castaway. You imagine profound monologues, spiritual awakenings, and a stoic acceptance of your fate. You think, I'll just wait it out. Step 2. The mockery. The only thing you're going to wait out is your own sanity. The human brain is a prediction engine. It craves patterns. When you feed it the chaotic, non-linear static of the deep woods, rustling leaves, shifting shadows, infinite fractal trees, it panics. It starts inventing patterns to calm itself down. Step 3. The science. This is the breakdown of the default mode network, DMN, and the onset of third man syndrome, or sensing a presence. In extreme isolation and stress, the parietal lobe, which orients you in space and time, starts to misfire. Simultaneously, your amygdala is screaming predator. Every 4 seconds, your brain resolves this conflict by hallucinating. You don't just hear things. Your auditory cortex reconstructs the sound of wind into your mother's voice calling your name. You see a figure in your peripheral vision that vanishes when you turn. This is not going crazy. This is your brain desperately trying to map a social reality onto a non-social void to keep you functional. But here's the kicker. This protective mechanism often kills you. It lures you off the trail to meet the person you think you hear. It convinces you that the rescue helicopter is a dragon or a hostile government drone. Paranoid psychosis is common in hypothermia cases. Step 4. The horror. Day 10. You are no longer in the woods. In your mind, you're in your kitchen, but the fridge is locked. You're talking to your wife, but she won't answer. You're walking towards a house that is actually a cliff edge. You're experiencing terminal burrowing, a final lizard brain instinct where hypothermic mammals dig into small enclosed spaces to hibernate before death. Rescuers find fully grown men squeezed under logs or wedged into rock crevices, frozen in the fetal position, often with their clothes neatly folded beside them. Paradoxical undressing. They didn't die fighting, they died thinking they were going to bed. Step 5. The solution. You must anchor your reality. Do not trust your senses. Trust your systems. If you see a house, check your map. Is there a house here? If not, it is a lie. Do not follow voices. Carry a physical totem. A photo, a watch, a letter, and talk to it, not the empty air. This focuses your social cognition on a concrete object rather than letting it smear out into the environment. And if you feel a sudden euphoric warmth or an overwhelming urge to sleep in the snow, that is the Reaper offering you a warm blanket. Scream. Hit yourself. Do burpees. Do math problems. Rage is better than acceptance. Rage keeps you warm. Acceptance is just the clinical term for giving up. Finally, let's address the ultimate filter, the rescue fantasy. Step 1. The delusion. They'll find me? You assume there is a massive coordinated dragnet with infrared drones and bloodhounds sweeping the grid the moment you miss dinner. Step 2. The mockery. Who is they? The underfunded volunteer search and rescue SSMR team that operates on donations and weekends. The sheriff's deputy who has to cover 500 square miles. Unless you left a detailed trip plan with a responsible adult, they don't even know you're missing. They think you're just ghosting your job. Step 3. The science. The probability of detection, POD, in dense canopy is functionally 0 for a non-signaling subject. A human in the earth tone clothing, which you wore to look tactical, is invisible from the air. Thermal cameras struggle in dense foliage or when the ground is hot. Search theory relies on hasty searches along linear features. Trails, drainages first. If you are off trail and immobile, the search area expands geometrically. Search area. Chuster nu don that garden don zeder tipin. Radius. 9 do. Every hour you walk in a straight line, you square the area they have to search. Step 4. The horror. A helicopter flies directly over you. You scream, you wave. They don't stop. Why? Because you're a speck of noise in a visual chaos. The pilot is looking for contrast. Bright orange, signal mirrors, smoke. You are just another shadow. They fly on. You watch them leave. That sound, the fading rotor beat, is the sound of your hope breaking. That is the moment most survivors break psychologically. They stop tending their fire. They stop drinking. They just sit down. Step 5. The solution. You do not wait to be found. You aggressively make yourself found. Contrast is key. Wear neon blue or orange, not camo. Build 3 fires in a triangle, the international distress signal, and keep them loaded with smokers. Green boughs or rubber. ready to light the second you hear an engine. Use a signal mirror. Its flash can be seen for 10 miles and cuts through haze that blocks visual searching. A whistle carries farther than a scream and takes less energy. You are not a passive victim. You are a beacon. You are a biological lighthouse. You fight for every inch of visibility because the universe is vast, indifferent, and blind, and you have to burn bright enough to force it to look at you. Reality check complete. The wilderness is not a gym. It is not a temple. It is a biological machine that converts incompetent biomass into soil. If you want to survive it, stop worshipping it and start studying it. Respect the physics, fear the biology, and for the love of God, tell someone where you are going. We've talked about the cold and the water and the hallucinations. Now let's talk about the long fade, the phase where the wilderness doesn't need to kill you because you agree to die. Step 1. The delusion. I have a strong will to live. You believe that survival is about grit, screaming at the sky and refusing to give up. You think of it as a battle. Step 2. The mockery. Battles are fast. This is a siege. The wilderness doesn't fight you, it just waits. It has infinite patience. Your adrenaline will run out in 48 hours, your glycogen in 72. After that, willpower is just a chemical equation that is rapidly becoming unbalanced. Step 3. The science. This is the give-up-itis or psychogenic death. It follows a documented 5-stage progression. Denial. You aren't lost. You're temporarily disoriented. You push faster to fix the map, burning critical energy. Anger, panic. The amygdala hijacks the brain. You scream, run, or destroy gear in frustration. This is the waste phase, where you burn 80% of your remaining reserves on useless emotional outbursts. Bargaining planning, the false hope. You come up with a complex, unrealistic plan. I'll build a raft. This is your brain trying to regain agency. When this plan fails, because you don't know how to build a raft, you crash hard. Depression, just deterioration. This is the chemical tipping point. The brain stops producing dopamine. You stop doing the chores of life. You don't zip your fly. You don't tie your boots. This is a signaling behavior. Your brain is deciding that the energy cost of maintenance exceeds the probability of survival. Acceptance, never psychogenic death. You feel a profound sense of peace. This is not spiritual, it is neurochemical. Your brain releases endogenous opioids to anesthetize you for the end. You might even hallucinate a rescue or a warm bed. You lie down, often in a fetal position, and simply stop. Your heart stops not because of hypothermia, but because the autonomic nervous system loses its drive signal. Step 4. The horror. It is day 12. You are sitting under a tree. You are not hungry anymore. You are not cold. You look at your hands and they don't look like yours. You see a beetle crawling on your boot and you watch it for 4 hours. You remember you should gather wood, but the thought feels heavy, like lifting a wet mattress. Later, you think. I'll do it later. You close your eyes to rest for just a second. You dream of your childhood kitchen. You never wake up. The search team finds you 3 days later, 500 meters from a logging road you would have crossed if you'd walked 10 more minutes. Step 5. The solution. Anger. Engineered weaponized anger. Do not look for peace. Peace is death. You need to artificially stimulate dopamine. Set microscopic goals. I will clean my fingernails. I will organize my Tinder pile by size. Achieving these tiny tasks releases a trickle of dopamine, keeping the seeking circuit of your brain alive. When you feel the peace coming, that soft, fuzzy desire to just lie down, you must recognize it as a seduction. Slap your face, scream obscenities, invent an enemy. Tell yourself the wilderness is laughing at you. Spite is a powerful survival fuel. Live out of sheer refusal to become a tragic discovery on the 6 o'clock news. Now let's pivot to the Bear Grylls effect, the danger of tactical stupidity. Step 1. The delusion. I'll drink my own urine, eat raw bugs, and climb down this waterfall. You think survival is about doing gross, high-octane stunts. Step 2. The mockery. Drinking urine reintroduces concentrated waste salts into a dehydrated body, accelerating kidney failure. climbing down a waterfall is just suicide with extra steps. You are not on TV. There is no craft services table. There is no medevac. Step 3. The science. Risk management in the wild is about micromorts, a unit of risk. In civilization, a micromort is 1 in a million chance of death. Rappelling down a cliff with improvised gear, that's thousands of micromorts. Eating raw insects, parasite risk. Jumping into a cold river, thermal shock. Every cool thing you see on TV increases your caloric expenditure and trauma risk. In a survival situation, you are a battery with a leak. Your job is to do nothing as efficiently as possible. Step 4. The horror. You try to climb down a ravine to get water because it looks faster than walking around. A rock shifts, you fall 15 feet. In the city, this is a broken ankle in an ambulance ride. In the deep woods, this is a death sentence. You have a compound fracture, bone is sticking out, you go into shock, you can't crawl, you can't gather wood. The pain is so blinding you vomit, losing precious fluids. You lie there for 3 days, watching the infection turn your leg black, smelling your own gangrene, while crows start gathering in the trees above you. They know. Step 5. The solution. Be a coward. Be the most boring, risk-averse coward in the history. Walk around the obstacle. Crawl if you have to. Don't jump. Don't run. Treat every step like you're walking on glass. If you have to choose between a shortcut that involves risk and a long way that is safe, take the long way. Or better yet, don't go at all. The goal is not to look cool. The goal is to have a pulse when the rescue team arrives. Boredom is survival. Excitement is usually a prelude to injury. This is the end of the line. The deep wilderness is indifferent to your dreams, your gear, and your ego. It respects only one thing: physics. It will strip the heat from your blood, the water from your cells, and the sanity from your mind with the mathematical precision of a machine. Your only defense is to be smarter, slower, and more brutally realistic than the environment itself. If you go out there looking for a challenge, you will find a grave. If you go out there looking for a connection, you will find isolation. But if you go out there with respect, preparation, and a terror of the laws of thermodynamics, you might, just might, be allowed to leave. Reality check over. This is where the script ends, not with a bang, but with a cold, hard look at the final variable. You. Step 1. The delusion. I'm different. You believe your intelligence, your salary, or your social status means something here. You think nature acknowledged your resume. Step 2. The mockery. A bear doesn't care about your credit score. A blizzard doesn't respect your job title. In the wild, you're just 70 kg of warm meat trying to stay warm. Your uniqueness is a liability because it makes you arrogant. The wilderness is the great equalizer. It kills the CEO and the janitor with the exact same indifference. Step 3. The science. This is the normalized deviance of survival. In your daily life, you get away with small mistakes constantly. You skip breakfast, you don't sleep enough, you dress poorly for the weather. In civilization, technology buffers these errors. In the wild, that buffer is gone. This is cascading system failure. Error 1. You didn't drink enough water because it was cold. Mild dehydration reduces blood volume. Error 2. You didn't eat because you were stressed. Hypoglycemia reduces cognitive function. Error 3. You took a shortcut because you were tired. Navigation error. Result. You are now lost, dehydrated, confused, and darkness is falling. The accident didn't happen when you got lost. It happened 6 hours ago when you decided not to drink water. Step 4. The horror. You are finally rescued, but it's not the ending you imagine. You have frostbite on your toes. They will turn black and be amputated. You have rhabdomyolysis from muscle breakdown, and your kidneys are permanently damaged. You have PTSD, not the cool kind, but the kind where the sound of wind in trees makes you vomit. You survive, but you leave a piece of yourself in that forest forever. You are alive, but you are less. Step 5. The solution. Radical humility. The only way to win is to admit you are weak. Pack for your incompetence, not your success. Carry a GPS beacon because you will get lost. Carry extra warmth because you will underestimate the cold. Respect the rule of 100. If a mistake is 1% probable, but you take 100 steps, the mistake becomes a certainty. Reduce your steps. Reduce your exposure. Acceptance. Accept that you are small. Accept that you are fragile. When you stop trying to conquer the wild and start trying to cooperate with your own biology, your chances skyrocket. The final lesson. The best survival skill isn't fire starting or shelter building. It's the ability to look at a beautiful wild forest, feel the pull of the unknown, and say, "No, not today. I am not ready." And then turn around and go home. That is the only victory the wilderness offers. The permission to leave. Loop 6. The betrayal of gear. Step 1. The delusion. I bought the best. You are wearing a $600 Gore-Tex Pro shell, waterproof boots, and merino wool. You feel invincible. You think technology has exempted you from biology. Step 2. The mockery. You're a gear zombie. You think a credit card transaction is a survival skill. You believe waterproof breathable is a scientific fact, not a marketing oxymoron. Step 3. The science. Let's talk about partial pressure differentials. Gore-Tex works by allowing water vapor, sweat, to pass through microscopic pores that are too small for liquid water, rain. But this relies on a gradient. It only works if the humidity inside the jacket is higher than outside, and if the face fabric isn't wetted out. In a cold, driving rain, the outer fabric saturates. The DWR, durable water repellent, fails. Now there is a layer of cold water on top of the membrane. Vapor transmission stops. You are hiking uphill, generating heat. The sweat has nowhere to go. It condenses on the inside of your shell. You are now wearing a plastic bag. You are soaking wet from your own body, and because water conducts heat 25 times faster than air, your survival shell is now a refrigeration unit strapped to your core. Step 4. The horror. You stop moving to set up camp. The heat generation stops. The sweat cools instantly. You are wet in freezing temperatures. You try to take off the wet layers, but you only have backup layers that are also slightly damp because your pack isn't truly waterproof either. You can't dry anything because the relative humidity is 100%. You freeze to death inside $2,000 worth of protection. Step 5. The solution. Be breathable manually. Use mechanical venting, pit zips, open zippers before you sweat. Accept that waterproof is a lie in sustained wet conditions. Wool keeps you warm when wet. Synthetics dry fast. Cotton kills, but mostly, don't rely on the jacket. Rely on the shelter. If it's raining hard, stop and get under a tarp. Staying dry is easier than getting dry. Loop 7. The sleep demon. Step 1. The delusion. I'll just push through. You think you can stay awake for 48 hours to get out faster. You think sleep is a luxury. Step 2. The mockery. You aren't a Navy SEAL. You're an accountant with a caffeine addiction. Step 3. The science. After 24 hours, your cognitive impairment is equivalent to a blood alcohol level of 0.10%. You are legally drunk. After 48 hours, microsleeps begin. Your brain shuts off for seconds at a time while your eyes are open. After 72 hours, you enter sleep deprivation and psychosis. The brain, starved of REM sleep, starts projecting dream imagery onto reality. This is a breakdown of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. Visual hallucinations become complex. You see people, buildings, animals. Your depth perception fails. Step 4. The horror. You are walking along a ridge. You see a log bridge across a ravine. It looks solid. You step on it. It isn't a log, it's a shadow. You fall. Or worse, you see a search party in the distance. You wave. They wave back. You walk toward them. You walk right off a drop-off. You died chasing a dream your own brain invented to comfort you. Step 5. The solution. Sleep is a weapon. Sleep is gear. If you are tired, you stop. You set a timer for 20 minutes, power nap, or 90 minutes, full sleep cycle. You do not move at night. You do not move when exhausted. You prioritize brain function over distance. A well-rested survivor walks 10 miles in the right direction. An exhausted survivor walks 20 miles in a circle. Loop 8. The micro-infection. Step 1. The delusion. It's just a scratch. You get a blister. You cut your finger on a knife, you ignore it. Step 2, the mockery. In the city, you have soap and a sterile environment. In the woods, you are covered in filth, and your immune system is suppressed by cold and stress. Step 3, the science. That blister is a portal. Staphylococcus aureus and streptococcus are on your skin right now. Once the barrier breaks, they enter. In a cold, wet boot, bacteria multiply exponentially. A minor infection triggers an inflammatory cascade. Your body sends white blood cells, causing swelling. But you keep walking, compressing the tissue, driving the bacteria deeper. Step 4, the horror. Day 4, the blister is now a red streak going up your leg, lymphangitis. You have a fever. You are shivering, but not from cold, from sepsis. Your groin lymph nodes are swollen and tender. You go into septic shock. Your blood pressure plummets. You pass out. You're eaten by bacteria from the inside out before the wolves even find you. Step 5, the solution. Aggressive hygiene. Treat every scratch like a gunshot wound. Wash it, disinfect it, cover it. If a blister forms, tape it before it pops. Air out your feet every day. Dry feet are alive feet. Wet feet are rotting meat. Loop 9, the scavenger's watch. Step 1, the delusion. I have to worry about bears. You are looking for 500 Doberman monsters. Step 2, the mockery. The bear is asleep. The thing you need to worry about is the thing that knows you are dying before you do. Step 3, the science. Ravens and coyotes are sentinel scavengers. They watch. Ravens specifically follow the large predators, wolves, or injured animals, waiting for scraps. If a raven is following you, hopping from branch to branch, making specific gurgling calls, it is signaling. It is telling the forest, here is meat that is slowing down. They recognize the gait of injury. They know the difference between a hiker and a victim. Step 4, the horror. You fall and break your leg. You can't move. You are alive. The ravens land. They don't attack, they just wait. Their presence attracts the coyotes. The coyotes are cautious. They nip at your boot to see if you kick. If you don't kick hard enough, they nip your calf. You're being disassembled while conscious because you didn't respect the micro-predators. Step 5, the solution. Look alive. Throw rocks, yell. Do not look like prey. If you are injured, you must still project predator energy. Never let the forest see you limp. Step 1, the delusion. I conquered the wild. You are sitting in the back of a search and rescue SUV, wrapped in a thermal blanket, drinking lukewarm Gatorade. You think you have a story to tell at parties. You think you are a hero because you didn't die. Step 2, the mockery. You are not a hero. You are a liability. You are a resource drain that cost the county $50,000 in helicopter fuel and volunteer hours because you wanted to find yourself. The wilderness didn't test you. It tolerated you, and then spat you out like a piece of gristle it couldn't digest. Step 3, the science. This is the post-Risuce physiological crash. When the cortisol finally drops, your body realizes the extent of the damage. Immune collapse. Your suppressed immune system rebounds, often triggering a massive inflammatory response. You will get sick immediately. Pneumonia, infected cuts, latent viruses flaring up. Catabolic debt. You didn't just lose fat, you lost heart muscle. Your body cannibalized its own structural protein. Recovery isn't a big meal. It's 6 months of physical therapy to rebuild the muscle fibers in your quads and back. Neurological rewiring. Your brain has adapted to hypervigilance. The sound of a car door slamming will make you jump for weeks. You will have hypnagogic jerks where you wake up convinced you are freezing to death. The wilderness rewired your amygdala, and civilization is now too loud, too bright, and too fast. Step 4, the horror. You go back to work, you sit in your cubicle, the fluorescent lights buzz, and you realize something terrifying. You miss it. Not the pain, not the fear, but the absolute clarity. In the woods, there was only one problem: stay alive. Here, there are 1,000 pointless problems: emails, taxes, social media. You start to look at the park at the edge of town with a strange hunger. You have the 1,000-yard stare of a combat veteran, but your war was against a tree in a rainstorm. You are safe, but you are hollow. Step 5, the solution. Respect. That is the only word that matters. Don't go back until you are ready to be a student, not a conqueror. Learn the names of the plants, not just which ones you can eat. Understand the clouds, not just if it will rain. Realize that the deep wilderness is a cathedral, not a gymnasium. You enter on your knees, or you don't enter at all. The story ends here. You survived. Congratulations! Now do the hardest thing of all. Learn from it.